Hello everyone, good morning. Today is August 19th, Friday. I'm going to be recording a little bit of a resume for today's price action, the trades that happened, why did price do this or that, and basically go through everything that happened today and my thoughts of it. And it was a somewhat good day for me. I took a buy that ended up in a take profit. Took a sell that ended up in a break even, and others that ended up in losses with lower risk that we'll discuss as well. I'm trying to look in Telegram. To see if there's anything else that I should point out. Well, in the meantime, we'll mention that I I do have my Telegram group that you can join through this link on the description. I just post like my ideas, commentary through the session or analysis through the session, and that's really all that happens. And well, this video is probably going to be early access for those in the Telegram as previous one. So let's delete everything and look at it on session wise. We had, well, yesterday I talked about it on my Telegram that the daily time frame had run above a lot of liquidity on last week, right? Friday, I think this is Friday. Friday basically just traded within this, well, above the highs, and created a 1 hour fair value gap, if I remember correctly, which is respected, and price then just starts going lower. And then we have the creation of that daily fair value gap, which is traded on yesterday, if I remember correctly. Yeah, no, actually Thursday, on Thursday or Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. And then we basically have price just basically respecting this trend, giving us the opportunity that we had yesterday and the opportunities that we had today. Today was interesting to see what happened through London, because what happened through London is what I like to call a pretty clean scenario to be a part of. And as you can see, what happened through London, which is this, was price going a bit higher without too much aggression, to be fully honest, and then it changes direction, basically causing a little bit of a market shift on this, and the creation of a fair value gap on this high and this low, right, which ends up being a fair value gap. So we don't have to look, or not look, what is it that I'm trying to say here? Not every single fair value gap is going to be something that we use or that we can use, right? So when we see a fair value gap, we have to analyze why that fair value gap happened. Why was it created, right? And for me, it's the fact that, as an example, where price went higher, taking the liquidity created on this couple of highs, the liquidity on this couple of highs, and the liquidity on this high here to the back that also had taken some liquidity, right? If we look at it a little bit with a little bit less detail, we have that this is a high, this is a low, and if we span that to the left, we have pretty close a couple of other highs that have been respected. So basically an area that price is just respecting, that here stops basically respecting it, sweeps that, and immediately creates a fair value gap on the 15-minute that is respected inside London, and then pre-New York causes a pretty aggressive move to the downside, right? As I've mentioned a couple of times already, I don't really like when we have aggressive moves or aggressive price action before New York, because it tends to ruin the session. Like, it either doesn't have much impulse, it doesn't really move much, it ranges, or it just basically goes entirely against the direction that was set by London, right? Or yeah, but by anything that happened before New York. So today we kind of did have that, but at the same time it did end up working out quite well. And as you can see, phase one begins here. What I call phase one begins here, and we'll see in the lower time frames, in the 5 actually, how it sweeps this couple of highs that we have here, starts going aggressively higher. We have a market shift, fair value gap in the 5, and that's where the first 1 minute entry that I took today happened. Let's go here, and it's right here. So I should have drawn the 5 minute first. This is the 1 minute fair value gap. And the 5 minute we're basing it on is this one. So why did I actually pay attention to this one, to this fair value gap? because there was liquidity being built up. Price takes that aggressively, goes aggressively higher immediately, creating a fair value gap and a market shift. Right? That for me is a fair value gap that was created, causing a market shift, and right after it took liquidity. So for me, that's actually what I will call like a valid fair value gap, or something that I would actually be interested in trading. So price trades into that, and when we go down to the 1 minute, you'll see that this could have been an opportunity, right? This could have been an opportunity that I honestly was not paying attention to this. I actually, earlier in the morning, I was looking at this. Run on liquidity, aggressive move lower. This could have worked out. Didn't take it. Did I? No, I didn't take this. Goes lower, basically respects that, and then starts going higher, right? Which is when this is created, and when basically we could have taken advantage of that. On the other hand, if we would have taken this loss, then we just fix it up with this one, right? Which does end up working out. So we have price mitigating the 5 minute fair value gap. This move lower doesn't take liquidity, which could be a way to try and avoid settling losses. But I have seen other cases where this just works out. This fair value gap, as an example, could have worked out. So that's one of the reasons why when I'm looking at the 1 minute, I don't really look for price to get there, create a high, take the high, market shift, run on liquidity, fair value gap, and that's when I enter. If it just generates something that's good enough for me to take, right? The fair value gap is more than enough for me to take, because in some cases it just happens, it just works out. In other cases, well, we have this case that, well, it does take liquidity from this first reaction, and then it just continues going higher. If we looked at the left, there's really not that much that price actually respects, and that's, in my opinion, that's the reason why I went a bit lower to just continue higher, right? So this is the entry. If I remember correctly, stop loss was down to this low, right, which gives me 4.5, yes. And target was basically, I went to the 15 minute, just as ICT mentions, and what I've seen works out the best is just going for the 50% when you're going against the trend, because going against the trend, you could say, sure, well, it could go up to maybe this order block, maybe this fair value gap, maybe have a couple of levels here the price could mitigate as somewhat of a support resistance to maybe just look for liquidity or something. And for me, I've had many situations, not only with this strategy, but with others, that price basically, when you're going against the trend, price could turn against you at any moment, right? So the earlier we are out of it, the better. So that gave me a 2.93, so basically 3R on this trade, which was taken quite lovely, right? Let's actually look at the executions. Oh, I'm on replay, my bad. That's why it wouldn't let me. That's the buy, and that's the sell. This is the sell from this, right? Low risk, decided to take this with the liquidity and all. And this is a tiny bit of a buy just based on this, which is the reason why I tend to just wait for the 5 minute to create a fair value gap, which is this, and then the 1 minute to occur, right? On this case, as an example, that would have avoided us a loss. Let's actually take off the labels because it just bothers me. So by here, does work out for a bit, right? Takes a high, aggressively lower, takes the lows, and this is actually the liquidity that was built out for later, for this entry to actually work out, right? So yeah. Well, this is the buy, that's the sell. Not the sell, the take profit basically happening there. Okay, so okay, so after that, I did say in my Telegram farmer quickly that we needed just a lot of price action to actually be able to catch something, because we didn't have fair value gaps to buy from. This one, oh, there was a tiny bit of a fair value gap here that I forgot to mention. I did draw it though. Mitigates that, but as you can see, there's no fair value gap until this one, which of course we're not going to take it that high. So yeah, didn't really give us much opportunity. I was looking at it because it could have created something cool to take, at least again up to this 50%, but again, never anything really clear. So price gets to the 50%, as you can see, it does create tiny bits of liquidity, tiny bit of liquidity here that is taken, goes aggressively lower. And I do believe we had something on the 1 minute, didn't we? Yeah, this tiny bit of a fair value gap, but I don't think, Yeah, just this one. This is the fair value gap, unless there was something on the 2 minutes example I didn't see. No, not even the 2 minutes or 3 minutes, of course, won't have anything. So 1 minute thing that was respected starts going lower, and this is when the entry that I was actually interested in taking on funded, but honestly did end up not taken. Did the 15 give us something here? Yes, yeah, thought it was a bit larger. So 50-minute fair value gap. Why was I paying attention to this? So the thing is, we have had a pretty aggressive impulse already, right? And again, that tends to ruin the session, which, as you can see, it didn't cause much of an impulse when going lower, because it did go lower clearly, but not as impulsively as this did, right? Because as you can see in this example and in other examples, if you go back to aggressive pre-New York and then what happens through New York, is that if you have a rangy in London, you will tend to see a aggressive price action through New York, right? And when the exact opposite happens, the London or pre-New York or anything basically before New York is aggressive, either London ranges, goes slowly in one direction, or goes completely against the trend that we would have expected, right? So in this case, we end up getting this retracement, which of course I'm not going to be forcing sells just because it has retraced, and in my opinion it should continue to go lower. But the thing is that we had a very, very precise reaction to the 50% of the move, right? Also 50-minute fair value gap, the first fair value gap out of not the first, the most recent one, because as you can see, there's no fair value gap in here, right? So this is the first, second, third, and that'll be all, right? So mitigation of 50-minute fair value gap, also the 50% causes aggression, which generates the 50-minute fair value gap, and that's when I like going to lower time frames, which today we got a somewhat clear opportunity. Sadly, was not able to take it, and this is I do believe it was larger than this because I was able to see it from my phone. But at the end of the day, it is a displacement created after that. And that's what ended up working out. Also, we had a 5-minute fair value gap, which I did mention through my Telegram that I was taking this on paper trading to see if it worked out, but I was not convinced on selling. Let me see if I can actually... Yeah. So... Okay. So we'll see timings-wise as well, since we're on it. Yeah, I know. Okay. This is what I mentioned, buying opportunity there, which is this price action here, as you can see. All right. That's the fair value gap. And I will take it on the paper trading, not convinced of buying, as mentioned earlier. I had mentioned it earlier. Yeah. And timing wise, well, you can see it's 10:50, so 9:50 should be on the charts, as I'm 1 hour ahead of New York. And then had to leave the house 11:03, so 10:03, but there's a selling opportunity. Clear sell to take. Okay, so clear sell to take is this one, right? That I spotted at 10:03, so around here. And after that, we could have taken something like this, but of course, price does pull away a bit too much, in my opinion. So taking something like this would have been a bit aggressive. And yeah, that would have been, in my opinion, this would have been the best thing that we could have taken today. The buy was somewhat clear, but again, too aggressive, not something that I would have actually taken on a Funder account or anything. And what I wanted to see if this trade got to is 5R, right? Which is taking its sweet time. Again, we tend to see that when something before New York has been aggressive, it tends to be either rangy, not much impulse, etc., right? As you can see, price has been respecting that opportunity so far. Also do have that, which I did try to take an entry, and I did take an entry actually here. Let me lock this. So that's the entry we were discussing, right? 5-minute fair value gap mitigates it. We have a 2-minute, 3-minute fair value gap that is respected here, but what I was actually interested on is this. The liquidity being built up. So I decided to place an entry around here, if I remember correctly. Yeah, you can see the little line there, the little arrow. Right, trigger there, stop loss up here, and then ended up being taken out on break even there. Right, so by 617,000, 617,000 right there, right? And that is pretty much it. I mean, not the greatest day, but I do like how the concepts they show up through the entire of the session. Because if we go once again back to the 5, once again to the 5, what is it that we had? So session opens, trace against above liquidity, displacement. We can even see it on the 5. Mitigates that. Lower time from entry. Looking at list for this low, right? What did London do? Trace above a couple of multiple highs, to be fully honest. Multiple highs. Immediately shows displacement in both 5 and 15. Price mitigates that. Starts going aggressively lower, right? A little bit of liquidity through to take through session. And that's pretty much it, honestly. And of course, in the lower time frames, we're going to have some other round of liquidity, and this tiny bit there, too little to really consider that. So pretty interesting day in my opinion. A lot of concepts again showed up, worked out. Just nothing that I was interested on taking in a challenge or funded account, to be fully honest. And the biggest reason why is because I would have liked to be on this, which I actually haven't analyzed the lower time frame. So let's actually do that now. The 50-minute fair value gap, and let's see if the 1 minute actually gave something. So I'm guessing this is where it closes. Yeah, price trace into it, starts going lower. Not much of a fair value gap. I don't think there's a fair value gap there. It is tiny one, but it is. There's a fair value gap here, so you can see this could have been a loss. Price and trace above that. A little bit of an aggression here. This would have been the second entry, maybe this, or yeah, that would have been most of the opportunities. And this would have been a very lovely trade to get into. Stop loss up there, +4 is 37. And target wise, well, probably this low, right? 4.5 R through London. Well, actually through New York, which would have been lovely, honestly. And again, this is the kind of trade that I like seeing when you're at a not the highest point of the move. I don't want to take every single reversal, but always close to this, right? On today's case, we did kind of have that, not entirely as I would have liked, because on the buy side. The problem with this was that price mitigates the fair value gap around here. If I remember, it was something like that. It doesn't really react too much to it at first, and then it causes that displacement that ends up working out, right? And ideally, the stop loss would have to been down there, so it's probably a 1 to 2 that I could have caught on that. And of course, all of this happening. It's actually after 8:30. I thought it was before 8:30. So this could have been a 1 to 2, but I don't take anything below 1 to 4, so not ideal. And then the 15-minute, which was something around here, price causes this first reaction, doesn't work out. The second reaction, the fair value gap is somewhat close. This is something that I would have liked to trade, but again, not at home, and completely missed out on it. Buying wise, this is a good reaction. It's just that again, I saw this as a retracement more than anything else, and this is the comment that I said earlier. Buying wise, we could get something. Now that I see it has swept a bit of sell side liquidity, but not convinced of it yet. In my opinion, the bullish move was just to create and take liquidity, right? 1043, which means 943 around here, right? So all of this for me at all times was just a little bit of a retracement, right? To then just continue going lower, which is what ended up happening. Sadly, we didn't get much of an expansion as I would have liked, but again, I would have not been able to take advantage of the move otherwise, so that's pretty much it. Not the best week, not gonna lie. I do believe I ended with, on challenge and funded, I only ended with 1% loss, which is just one loss that I can't really recall when it was taken. I'll have to see that on the weekly analysis. I'll probably be sharing as well, we'll see. But overall, a somewhat nice week. Had couple of days of cold price action. Today, in my opinion, was the cleanest day in a couple of days, right? This is one of the days that I like the most about this week because, again, things were somewhat clear to take advantage of. In some cases, it wasn't as clear as I would have liked it to. But overall, cool, right? Have this. Well, this was another clean day, Thursday. Yeah, we did have some think there was a sell on this. That will ended up working out quite well, as you can see, but of course it would have gone just below this low, which would have been more than enough. This just a little bit of a messy price action, but as you can see, run on sell side continues higher and ended up acting as a round of liquidity, but nothing clear to take this day, if I remember correctly. Tuesday, I think this is where it took the loss. Yeah, because Monday ended up with a break even, if I remember correctly. Oh yeah, Monday was break even and take profit on paper trading. And yeah, we didn't have the opportunities to buy, but I do think I ended up taking a sell on that price action. And this Monday, where I took a buy that ended up in a break even, which, let's actually look at this because it's somewhat similar to today. As you can see, aggressive pre-New York, retraces, continues with the trend, right? That's something that I've seen a lot. That's why I was somewhat expecting it today. So what did I, oh yeah, let's go to 15 and see where the 50% was. I would call it from here to here, right there. And yeah, it goes to 50%. 50% would have been difficult because if I remember correctly, the risk to reward ratio was not that good because entry was this or this one. Either way, pretty large stop loss. Let's actually check it. Of course, I'm doing this very with a very minor analysis, but yeah, let's target. It's 2.94. I mean, it's not that bad. Still below 4R, which is my bare minimum, but yeah, could have been taken either way. I don't know. I don't remember if this was the buy or kind of do feel like it. No, can't be that one. I do remember this, and I didn't take it. So yeah, a interesting week to say the least. Could have been better for me. Again, I think I ended up in a loss on a 1%. And on paper trading, I can't say for sure, but I'm pretty sure I ended up in a somewhat profit or break even because I did take 2-3 wins maybe through the entire week. And again, the risk to reward ratio helps with that. So it is what it is. That is pretty much it. I will be dropping a video Saturday or Sunday with the week resume, a little bit more detailed than the last video of a week resume. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, this video is going to be published for the Telegram group probably 2 hours before it actually drops public on YouTube. I'll have to see, so I have something constant. But yeah, consistent. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope this was of help for you, and I'll be seeing you until the next one.